Welcome, y'all. September 29th here on the Vision Train. My name is Alecia Sacred Heart, and I'm here joined with my partner in creativity, Amanda Sage, and we are here to talk with Stefan Lucas Art about his upcoming course at Vitra Academy.
Woo!
Welcome, Stefan.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, back on the train. I remember when it was first chugging along, back when I lived in Vienna still.
Yeah, it's been 2.5 years going strong on the Vision Train, which is right now we're hosting it on a Zoom call that's been going nonstop this entire time. That's where we are right now. And if you're a creative out there, you can jump on here with us. It's an international creative space station. There's artists from all over the globe that are in here right now, working at their easels and here to join us and with Stefan in this conversation as well. And yeah, so we're here to talk today about your upcoming course with Vitra that starts next Tuesday. It's called Figure Drawing Long Poses. And now we've done some courses in the past with you. We've produced 3 grounded vision seminars,
Yes.
which have been fundamental practices in graphite drawing and painting as well, oil painting as well. But this one is focused specifically on refined figure drawing long poses.
Yes, correct.
And the course we did in the spring was 14 weeks of kind of going through all these different aspects and building the the graphite drawing principles. And we had a couple sessions that focused on figure drawing, but shorter poses, getting a couple more in. And this one is going to be focused on just one pose per session, right?
Yes, exactly. One pose per session. And that last class, it was like the ultimate crash course. It's like, let's crash into 14 different topics and learn things in 2.5 hours that are kind of just like seeds of very large topics. Like each one of those classes could have been its own entire 14-week long course. So, this one is zooming in on the figure and not just the shorter poses in the gesture drawing. We're actually zooming in on the long pose and, the techniques and the precision and the patience that you need to produce like that atelier trained, extremely subtle and soft and very realistic result.
Yeah, for people that don't know what like atelier training is, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, it's not going to be exactly sight size, not exactly atelier trained, but it will be lending towards very realistic end results. So I guess what I mean by atelier trained is the tools and the techniques we'll be using will be from these ateliers where 250-hour long poses are held.
Yeah.
Where, people show up and there's a model live and, you measure every single thing and you get it down, 1 millimeter differences are not acceptable and that kind of stuff. This is going to be kind of a version of that where we're going for the maximum amount of realism as far as values and proportions and execution of the final piece goes, but it's something that, since it is ground divisions, there will be talk throughout the process of like, all right, so we're doing these traditional things, but in the end we want to paint our visions and the figures in our visions. So there will be talk of like, how do you apply that? How do you apply this traditional technique to that, final end result?
And what's the real drive for you, Stefan, to go deeper into accuracy? Like, why do you want to do that? And why do you think we should do that?
Well, I think that it's just like when somebody's mind is blown by a work of art, that's like a lot of it has to do with the technical skill, when like an image is communicating something that and the image doesn't even need words because it's so profound in its like execution. That is really the drive there, to communicate more clearly, to communicate a more profound message more deeply, and to enable people to do that for themselves and for others. Because I think that it's like, well, first of all, it's a really epic experience to create something, with that level of precision, and to look at a work of art, or to have like a, there's always like the stories of like the Russian students or whatever that put down a drawing on a piece of paper of a spider, and like at first like nobody can tell that it's like a fake spider because it's like so realistically drawn that it like spooks somebody. And it's powerful when you know those techniques, and when you can use them, your artwork becomes pretty powerful. So there's definitely an interest in that.
So in a way, it's to go into the accuracy of the drawing of what you can see and what you can observe, so that you have those tools and can then be free.
Yes.
It's kind of like you got to go in it to find that freedom.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like, I consider it like I have two halves to art. One half is the flow, and being able to just relax and release and just like let your essence like move through your hand and into the work. And then the other half is the machine, which is like specific instructions and formulas that you take time to build, and then you flow through the machine in whatever way you like, after the machine is installed. So I'd say that this class that's coming up is a lot about installing the machine, a specific machine, which has a specific result and specific functions. So then like when you want to flow into the figure and then you have this machine installed, it's like, this is almost like we're building a bicycle, and then you can learn how to, and then we're learning how to ride it as well.
So go ahead, Alecia.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. So I'm just wondering, like, what will the class structure be like? So they're going to be 2.5 hour sessions.
Yes.
And what will like the typical course flow be like? Because you really offer something unique. I feel in like the way that you presence us with breathing exercises, and like bring us into this meditative state. And I think that that's a really powerful way to approach disciplined practice. So I wish, I wonder if you would talk to us a little bit about like what the course flow might look like.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're not going to do, so in the last course we had like inspiration presentations, and I think that for the sake of having the poses be longer, we're not going to do those inspiration presentations, but we will just start with like a 5 to 15 minute long, just breathing and connecting to each other psychically within like the heart chakra of the cosmos. So it's like we all sit together in this like golden realm, and we like hold hands in that realm, and we do a couple ohms together, and we just like fine tune those higher awareness centers, or just like kickstart that before we even get into any of the physical practice, because that's just like grounding the vision. That's like, I think one of the higher potentials within art is to take information from these realms and to ground it and center it and then share it here in this world. So that is going to be the beginning of each class, but then the remainder of the class is going to be straight into a study with one reference image, and I'm thinking probably the first class or maybe the second class is going to be a close-up of hands, and then we're going to have 2 different like full-bodied model classes, and I haven't quite decided the order yet. Maybe we're going to start with the hands, or maybe it'll be the second class. But I want to get, I want to show people that it's like as above so below, and also as within so without, and like there's an infinite amount of detail in every grain of sand. So you can do a study of a part of a body and have it be like a full like 250-hour pose, just a hand. It's just like paying attention to detail and like how much, and that's like another skill within this whole thing that's probably the most intense to get to grips with, is like, how do you become efficient with your economy of detail? And this is something that I have talked about a lot in the previous grounded visions, which is like, with the economy of detail, you have, 2 hours to draw a hand or 2 hours to draw an entire body. When you're drawing that entire body, you're going to summarize a lot of things, but you're going to want to do it in a way that still communicates fully and
like
not,
the important
look unfinished. So it's like we're gonna do our best to create finished works within these time frames.
Cool. Yeah. And so this course will run on Tuesdays, starting this upcoming Tuesday, October 4th, then October 11th and October 18th, 12 p.m. Eastern, right? Yes, 12 p.m. 12 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Pacific, and 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Central European.
Nice.
So it's pretty widely accessible for most people to come live, but in case you can't come live, we do record all sessions and have them up posted within your course content within a few hours of class ending. So outside of class, we also have a student forum, and while you're working on your drawings through the week, you can be posting images of your work, asking questions to Stefan. That's always been a really fun way of, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure in that sense, to be able to engage with your teacher outside of class is a great resource. So during those, between those sessions, it's like a period of 2 weeks, but between those sessions, you can post in the student forum, and that'll remain up and you'll have access to it as well. There was something I was just going to say about the student forum. I forget what it was. Pardon me.
No worries.
I'm curious too, Stefan. You, after doing this long form course that you did in the spring, that was, I think, 14 weeks. You then took off on an adventure that was a 3-month kind of road trip, which then landed you all the way across the country from New York all the way to California and back. And then you came back and just opened like a week ago a solo exhibition in Rochester, New York. And so from the closing of the last session and through the summer, you've been through a lot, and you've also kind of culminated in this exhibit. And so you're in a kind of like a fresh place of perspective. And so I'm curious of what that's given you, and how you're going into this, these 3 sessions. What's new?
Yeah. Thanks for that question and recap. It's definitely like, it feels like, so this is the second exhibition that I've had at this place in the yards, in the Rochester Public Market. And the first exhibition I showed 1/3 of my work. The second exhibition I showed a second third of my work. And the third one that's going to be happening next year, I'll show a third. But like, it's really funny because after this exhibition, it felt like there was this slightly disorienting feeling of like, wow, I just climbed like a mountain, and then I'm looking up and all I see is another mountain that's like 3 times as tall. And like, that other mountain, it's been contacting me throughout my entire artistic journey. It contacted me when I visited Philip Ackerman's studio in Vienna. It contacted me when when I went to those figure drawing sessions in Vienna and like decided to get better at figure drawing and stuff. And now it's contacting me again as I'm seeing like, okay, like this traditional technique goes so much deeper. And there's just this kind of yearning to like master as much of it as I can as quickly as possible, and to kind of focus and hone in on the skills, or like maybe the machine and the flow of the machine, to then return to the fantastic and figurative and energetic and transmittive work with that much more structure to flow through. So it feels like I'm kind of at a brand new beginning, you know. And then like this class is like, all right, so this is, you know, every figure drawing class or grounded visions class as well so far has been a reflection of kind of where I'm at, you know. And like each grounded visions kind of reminds me too, it's like I'm also not done studying. I'm also not done downloading more skills and installing more programs within the machine, you know, programs that will suit the result that I want to create. Because the work that I really want to create, I want it to be real to light, to the internal light, to the kind of cosmic light. And, you know, this physical world is also cosmic light collapsed with cosmic light splashing around through it. And so it feels, yeah, it feels like I'm at the bottom of this massive mountain, and recognizing too, as I zoom out from like my whole life, it's like it's always been that, you know, that like rising up and then like plateauing, and then before stagnation happens, you rise up again and you plateau again. So it feels like we've just gotten off of a long plateau, and I'm about to start the next climb as far as the practice goes.
It reminds me of this this quote, and I'm not sure what language it's in actually, but it was in the introduction of a friend's book like forever ago, and it stuck with me. And it's Die Mon Genmon, and it means beyond mountains there are mountains. And I don't know, I guess you could look at that like kind of pessimistically, like you're never going to get to the end of climbing mountains, you know, but there's also something that's like you know, that it's a reminder of like this journey in life is going to constantly be filled with shifting perspectives and different trails that we have to learn to maneuver, you know. And there's something really beautiful about that, in that, you know, when we're up high, we can appreciate the vantage point, and when we're down low, we can appreciate the vantage point of looking up at the mountains, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a good thing that it never ends, you know. It's and you gotta walk with love the whole time. I think that's really key. Because I've certainly seen, you know, I've met like master artists that are miserable because all they can see is where they're not, you know. Or it's like the better you get, the further ahead of yourself you can see. So then you become exponentially like further behind what you can actually see. And then it's like, all right, like, well, you got to also kind of take it with a grain of salt and just like do what you can where you are, and you know, commit to loving yourself along the whole journey, because it's gonna be a ride, right? And this is within any practice. This is like whatever you're doing: kung fu, parenthood, friendships, hiking,
baking bread, yeah, totally,
arts, visual arts. And it's a spiritual thing, you know. It's a spiritual practice.
Yeah, the spiritual practice isn't seen that it is a process and a practice, and there's no finish line that that's going to be attained. It's like you're just going to see more mountain. There's just going to be another mountain once you've scaled that mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know,
yes, and I think it's about celebrating each peak as well. Like having those, like there are finish lines and there are deadlines, which are good to look forward to as it's like, all right, like we're working hard to celebrate, you know, and then we're celebrating so that we can continue to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like remember on the way up that one, there was that beautiful waterfall, you know? And then like remember that really cool fern that was growing on the other side of that one, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's there's landmarks, you know, along the way that like once you move through them, they feel, you know, pleasant and nostalgic. You know, mountains are good.
I feel like also though it takes we all get out of practice no matter. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I start practices and stop them all the time.
Mhm.
As soon as they feel like they're working, right? It's like, I'm going to go try something else. But there's something that's so empowering about sticking with a practice for a certain period of time, whatever that is, and working through the challenges. And sometimes we have to put things down for a little bit if we lose the sight. Because I don't know about you all, but when I look at a painting too long, and I just can't, sometimes I can't see it anymore. I need to look at something else, or I need to go get my hands in the dirt. I need to do something completely different. But the commitment to continuing is something that I think we all benefit from, and we find, especially when we're in a group, right, in a community, and like that's what we've found that I think on the vision train over the years, and then also just gathering in a class, and for myself teaching classes for many years, just the act of showing up and taking a week to commit to creating together has always opened up so many more doors than I could have imagined, that or beyond the canvas, and so it's like art is a tool and a trick. Like the art making process is something that has so much more to give us than just the result of the end image, right? And I think we get often fixated on that, but part of this is actually the meat of it, right?
Yes.
Is in the process. I mean, that's the real gold, is in the process. And so, yeah, it's just interesting to consider that, and that as an opportunity to just step into that again, and this being not such a huge commitment, this three days, is not as big as 14 weeks.
Yeah.
For you too,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Totally. And it is a continuing to make the art, it's upgrading your ability to make these artistic objects as much as it is upgrading your ability to channel your inspiration and like your intuitive musculature, so to speak. And like it's interesting because like you can continue to do these techniques on and on and on and on until your body like deteriorates, and then like you lose it all. But then there are parts, like these energetic parts, which like perhaps you don't lose. Like I think that like within the energetic upgrades and within doing things that you love, whatever it is, there is a progress that doesn't get wiped out, as the body gets wiped out.
yes. I'm curious if there's anyone out there that has any questions for us, or anyone on the train. We had some crew members that jumped off too, but there's some that are here. If there's any questions, love to integrate. Yeah. You mentioned that your exhibit too is coming down in a couple days.
Yes.
And and you've done some figure drawing, some live figure drawing there.
Yeah, so last weekend we had a in-person figure drawing class. We had like 5 students, and it was cool because we were just surrounded by like all the work that I set up. And one of my best friends was the model. So it was like a really good flow, and like first time doing a in-person class since Arizona, which happened over the summer. And that, this is only the second in-person class I've done in a while. So those have definitely been really good. And this exhibition, it will be open to the public this Saturday, if you're in the Rochester area, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And otherwise, it's like an appointment-based thing. So you can contact me at stefanlucasart@gmail.com or on my Instagram at stefan.lucas.art, and set up an appointment to see the work, And so I'm kind of like on call for whenever somebody's like, hey, let me see the work. I'll just like zoom over there and like open the doors for them, basically. But it's, it's a serious amount of work, and a lot of the pieces in it are from Vienna. A lot of the pieces, probably about half the pieces, are from Vienna, and the other half are like from my time back here in the States, and like the newer pieces, newer findings, and newer discoveries.
Can I ask him something?
Yeah.
Yes, Stefan, I love your work.
Oh, thank you
so much. And this is not related to the class, but I'm like, oh yeah, I can ask him. Are you currently still playing with dragons? And can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration? I'm currently on exploration with dragons, and I'm loving it so much.
Cool.
So I'm just curious to hear a little bit. I don't want to derail us too much, but a little bit about your inspiration with dragons. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for asking. I really love dragons. First of all, always have. Like when I look at my drawings from when I was like 5 or 6 years old, it's like I'm drawing maps, and there's like portals and like little wizards and like dragons everywhere, good dragons and bad dragons, space dragons. That was like a big thing from childhood, like dragons that eat stars and dragons that consume galaxies. So there is like a monstrous quality that like my inner child for sure is like, wow, that's really powerful and cool. But then like in growing up, like recognizing these serpentine energies, they're all over the world, and like these dragons are like really these major allies to humanity. It's this, this metaphor, but also these beings that are like these serpents of light. They're massive warriors. They'd take a hit for you if they could, right? And they're very protective and very fierce and ancient. They're incredible. And every culture kind of tapped into that in their own way. Dragons have popped into every single culture because like they're real, they're there, they exist. So if you ever get greeted by a dragon in your dreams or in your visions, right, like ask it what it has to say, and if you don't like what it says, tell it to go away. But like they're most of them are good friends.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, Danny's been working on some dragons.
Well, I not to like totally change, like get off what's on the subject, but to like dive down this hole even deeper. But the new series House of Dragons has come out.
Oh yeah.
The prequel to Game of Thrones, and I love the way that they have done the dragons in there. They feel so real, and I just, all the different kinds of dragons that could be out there, and these are just like, they feel so like dinosaurs, like they feel so real, and just the way that they, have designed them, I'm really enjoying. So if you guys haven't seen
dragons are definitely in these days. I mean, it seems like the dragons are coming back online because it's like all over the place. Different movies, different medias or whatever, different artists are like, I love dragons again. It's like, oh yeah, like dragons are back.
Dragons are back. They never left.
I mean, yeah. It's interesting too, the difference of the Western and the Eastern dragon. Like the Western dragon, which is like this beast demon that you have to slay that's gonna like kill everybody. And then the Eastern dragon is like this like spirit totem creature being that like is wise beyond wise and like fierce beyond fierce and intelligent, you know, and like will teach you. That's more so the dragon that I like depict and like work with. But there are some, you know, there's some baddies out there too, for sure. Like just like people.
Just like people. There's the dragon in the mythology of the Vinatoc story is represents the earth. And the earth spirit and everything that's wild. Nice. And the dragon is and then the knight represents technology.
I guess we'll just replace the figure drawing course. We're gonna do drawing dragons.
Maybe dragons. Well, we could draw ourselves or the figure as a dragon, like add the dragon element.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be some high level stuff. We can get to that maybe. We got to get some more training in before we can go there.
Yeah, we go like Liba version and like paint our dragon self portraits. You know,
dragons with our eyes. Faces.
That sounds really fun.
I mean, my dragon eyes,
right? No, that sounds really fun. I mean, I think, but that's coming back though to the value and the importance of the practice. It's like to understand anatomy, to understand and to have the training to do it with your own hand is so valuable to then being able to create like mythological characters and
totally. Totally. And I think it is worth mentioning, like, we're going to keep doing these grounded visions. We're going to keep zooming into different things. And like, so this is going to be the close-up of the finished and rendered figure, right? But also we want to learn how to draw like the landscapes and the objects and the energies and the portals and all the things. We want to learn how to draw that stuff from our head. So that's kind of the main intention, is like, yeah, again, installing the machine and learning how to flow with it, and vice versa, interspersing those two concepts and weaving and twisting it all together.
I mean, the thing is like, as much as we would like to just upload those skills, we have to earn them. And I was listening to a really interesting podcast last night from Lex Fridman with with Ray Kurzweil, and talking about singularity, you know, and there being, you know, he's predicting 2029 is when there's going to be machines that will be conscious, or we will be able to, you know, that will have the same amount of, you know, be comparable with the human calculations and beyond. I mean, some are already beyond in some ways, but there's a certain test that they'd have to pass.
Yeah.
But this kind of like talking about being able to merge our brains, like with these, basically with new hard drives, to basically, like, the phone right now is something that we can look and, you know, we can search almost anything and have all this information. But what if it was right there,
built into your brain?
So it makes me, of course, think of the Matrix, you know, and she like uploads like, oh, how do you fly a helicopter? Hold on a sec.
Yeah. I mean,
and now you got it, right?
Absolutely. But I feel like that's kind of scary, man. Like I don't trust it. I wouldn't trust it for at least a couple decades, right? I want to let other people be the forerunners of that kind of thing.
That's what he said too. That's what Ray Kurzweil said. He's like, I'm definitely not going to be one of the first, because they used the analogy also of like the cell phone. Like the first cell phones did not work very well and were very expensive.
Yep.
And you know, and it takes the time to work out the kinks.
Absolutely.
But so it's an interesting thing to consider that, you know, uploading those capabilities. Though at the same time, I feel like whenever I really study something and really draw something, it becomes a part of me, and I understand it, like the lines, the work with my hand, there's a memory in my hands, not just in my mind. And that is a big part of being able to call on that again, right? And to use
Yes,
those things, like if I'm, or use that there's a certain kind of memory, right?
totally.
So in drawing the figure, if I've drawn the figure and studied it in, in various positions and forms, and I've really like kind of like understood a lot more around the complexities and the subtleties, then, and I've studied it by looking at it, really looking at a model, then later I can actually, when I'm in a state of imagination and drawing from my imagination, I can draw on that and
Yeah,
draw and build off of that. But if
absolutely.
I haven't done that before, then I don't really have, I don't have the foundation, and I haven't really earned it. So there's something, there's something to that. So
Absolutely. It's like so in comparison to the creating consciousness in a machine, there's like recognizing that the brain is already like one of the most advanced quantum computers in the cosmos, right? Like dolphins got us beat, orca whales got us beat, but we're like number 3 as far as like what the quantum computing power of our brain is. And quantum computing is literally like creating reality around us. Like when you're observing objects, they exist. When you're not observing them, something else is observing it and making it exist in a different way. But it's like this quantum computation of like reality exists as you see it, and it doesn't exist when you don't. And I think that I'm far more excited and interested in just doing the work to install the things that our nervous system is already potentially capable of. And that is learning a skill, like practicing something and then having it be a part of you, and then being able to reorient your perspective and like create different artwork. That's a skill. The meditation and the breath work is another version of this, where you're practicing something, altering the nervous system and the endocrine system, and producing a certain result, which is like experiencing the world in a totally different way, right? And then like by experiencing the world in a different way, like the double slit experiment in quantum physics, it shows us that like, yeah, you're literally changing the world by observing it differently. So I think that like this is also why I lean towards like traditional stuff and traditional skills. It's like, I think a lot of the digital technology and the new stuff, it's wonderful and it has its place, but there's a large theme of like, this will make you a good artist instantly. This will make you like enlightened instantly. This will blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, like you're kind of just real, becoming dependent on, maybe not, and there's a gradient in this, but I could say on the far end of the spectrum, if you get caught up in that, you might end up wasting a lot of time and like never really learning how to just do the thing. Like all you really need to learn how to draw is like paper, pencil, something to look at, draw it, done, and like take just the time. And then like the internalization process. And then like, as you said, like bringing it in, internalizing it, and being able to use it again. That's a part of why I feel like I'm at the bottom of this mountain, is because I want to get so deeply into plein air painting. Like I ordered a new plein air painting easel, and I want to like study light from life a lot, and especially the colors of things. Because it's like, I'm recognizing some of the best moments in like in the last year or two of paintings are like, they're actually little things that I learned from like painting water from life. Because I've been doing plein air for a while, but it's like painting water from life, picked up this trick, painted out, and then it like shows up in these 10 like imaginative works, and it's like, oh, like I'm doing maybe like 1/10 the amount of plein air painting that I could be doing at the moment. So it's like, let's just do that all the way, gather and like internalize so much information, and then like when I return to the imagination stuff, it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be profound. So that's something I want to just encourage in general, is like install it, do the work to install things permanently inside of yourself. Program yourself instead of always grabbing for the next easy candy thing.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is that, like, for one, it's up to us, right? The discipline to like show up to the practice is up to us. And the other great thing is that, like, the best thing for us in learning and in becoming better and more efficient and powerful in executing our internal visions is actually by studying the world around us, you know. And so, it's not, I'm sure you can study toroidal fields and, all sorts of different, like, nuanced, specialized things. But the best way for us to be able to execute the visions that are coming to us internally is actually by studying the world around us, and as human beings walking through this creative practice, one of in my personal creative journey, the most powerful thing for me has been studying the figure, and I lead a figure study group that's free every Wednesday. I don't teach, I just facilitate, like, the images that to come up on the screen. And but it's an opportunity, it's an invitation to show up to that practice every week. It's an invitation, because it can feel daunting sometimes, like, then and where it's the space doesn't feel right, or I have to go out and find the images or whatever it is. So the more I can help facilitate that for myself and share that with others, and it's really something that's like, I can tell when I haven't been doing it. The more that you come back to it, the more you're like, oh wow, I still feel kind of like warmed up from the last time, and it's easier to get in and really go for it. So,
and then also, just to add to that, community makes it 10 times easier as well. Like, it's so much easier to battle resistance with like 10 swords instead of one, right? Because resistance is sneaky. It'll like come up with a lot of ways that you shouldn't do what you want to do.
Oh yeah.
But
Excuse-itis is real.
And in Vienna, I had one of my best buds there, Ivy. She was like my accountability buddy with plein air painting for sure. Like, we would get up at 4 a.m. together, and like, we got to get to the park at 5 because there's this 15-minute window of time where the building is glowing with golden sunlight, and it's just like, you got to go there 10 times to finish a painting, during that time frame. And it's like, oh my gosh. But like,
yeah, I remember thinking a couple times that I was gonna go, and then being like, yeah, no. I think I just got home from the studio a few hours ago. I think I'm gonna sleep.
Exactly. There's that moment where you get up and you're like in bed, and it's like, oh my God, it's so cold.
What am I doing? Yeah.
It's like, right now is the decision point. It's just get up and do it. And then do it, and it's worth it. But
yes. Yeah, totally.
Helps to have a friend. Helps to be that's like, I think one of the best things about being in a class too, is just like being there with people, having that community element. It just, there is an accountable, it's easier to be accountable to show up when you know that your friends are going to be there. Right.
Yeah, I think that's another nice thing about the student forum too, is that it's a place that, like, you can actually be like sharing, hey, we had class and we might have done like 2.5 hours in class, but then like I got really sucked into it and I worked on it till like 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, because like that's what happens. You get, kind of sucked in, and you share that in the forum, because there's probably somebody else out there that's like, man, I feel like, I don't know if I want to share, but the more that we share and engage with each other in those spaces, the more welcome and safe and supported that we feel there too, so I just can't wait to see the work that gets, these fabulous long poses that will, become these refined drawings over the next few weeks. So thanks so much for your time today, Stefan and Amanda, and all of you guys who are out there here in the Zoom call and out there watching in the live stream, and maybe you're watching the replay whenever, wherever you are. Stefan's course, Figure Drawing Long Poses, begins on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It goes for 2.5 hours. So that's October 4th, and then the next two Tuesdays as well. So October 11th and the 18th. You can find out more information on our website, vitra.academy. And yeah, check us out on Instagram at vitra.academy. And we will see you hopefully next Tuesday. You can email us with any questions, info@vitra.academy, and we'll be happy to respond as quickly as possible. And yeah, any last questions out there? I see Tiffany just joined us.
I also just saw a message come through on Facebook by Celeste, who says, "Do you feel like this type of art is being censored?" And I feel like it was like it's kind of veers from our subject, but I thought like it was an interesting thought.
This type of art, meaning like visionary art, or like
visionary art, I would think, but then figure, figure drawing.
Oh, you mean like
yeah.
the nude figure and being censored?
That for sure.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I would.
It's like there are quite a few powerful forces in this world that don't want to see people waking up and feeling free. You know, that's definitely part of it. And that's not like, we're not focusing on that. We don't want to give them any more power than they already have, which isn't actually very much when you are connected to yourself, right? And I think that it's really important to express your truth, whatever that may be. You know, whatever groups or circles will reject you for that, they're not your people, you know, and that's totally fine. Like we're not all the same. Actually, none of us are the same. Everybody's very different, right? And like it depends. And that's the thing too, is like when you're in your survival center or whatever, people are predictable when they're in their survival center. So then you kind of become the same, or it's easier to become the same, and get swept up in the thing that isn't really a higher expression of yourself. So figurative art, if you want to do it, right? Who cares who's going to censor it, who's going to be offended? Like, that's all right.
Yeah, censorship's certainly happening. Yeah, so censorship will definitely continue to happen, and definitely people censor nude art. I find like on social media that usually people whose art has been censored can like refute that, and then they'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is just a painting." But yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets flagged by algorithms, like just because it looks like a body part, and sometimes it's actual people reporting. But I think also like if you take it into like the realm of like, is this art getting censored in terms of like visionary art? You know, and that may be, but I think ultimately the most important aspect of it is that like we're empowering as many artists and their creative, you know, expression, their authentic voices as possible. And the more people that become empowered in that way, whether you're a painter or an architect or a writer, a musician, whatever like creative path that you have, the more people that are empowered in their authentic creative expression, the more futile attempts at censorship become, you know, because like these evolutions become part of like our social operating system, and like people see the truth, you know. So
and
yeah,
I just want to
censorship
say
is real.
like I think the name of the game for me and all things is alignment. It's like, am I doing is what I'm doing right now in alignment with my truth? You know, because it's like just one person that's very, very in alignment is like extremely powerful, you know, more powerful than billions of sleepwalkers. So it's like, you know, there's no time to waste, just like not being yourself, you know, as much as it can be helped, because that's also a process and it's changing.
That just reminds me, I'm not usually like a quoter, but this reminds me of another one that's, I think it's Tolkien from The Lord of the Rings, and it's something that's like, even the smallest person can change the world.
Yeah,
you know?
I think I know which one you're talking about. It's like the world, actually, like the people that are like your everyday people, like just being friendly and taking care of everyday things are actually what makes the world go around. I think that's like, or maybe it's my version of it, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about a hobbit, right? You know,
Yeah.
but it's like even one, you know, the smallest person can change the world.
Yeah.
You know, And yeah, being in integrity is really how that happens, right? So
Totally.
anyway, we could go get so philosophical and deep when it comes to like, art practices, but especially when we're talking about like, studying ourselves, like the vehicle that like we're here experiencing life in. I find it incredibly profound. And so I highly recommend, doing your due diligence as an artist, and studying the figure, whether it's with us or not, in your own, personal practice. But it's a really profound exercise, self-portraiture, but we are expressing the encounters, the experiences of this human condition. And so what's more powerful than studying the figure, and up leveling how your approaches and your efficiency and effectiveness, and articulating the stories that we experience or dream about even within this embodiment, so
Sweet.
yeah, again, thanks so much, Stefan, and thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us. Thanks so much to all of you out there. We're here on the Vision Train, and you're welcome to hop on here anytime. It's 24/7, nonstop. Been going for 2.5 years. It's a Zoom call. It's just a Zoom call away. Welcome to all. Hope to see you soon.
Woohoo!
Choo-choo!
Thank you, guys.